You said you went to boot camp. How was that like? And I know you were researching the characters or the real life person you were playing. Did you see any of the other real life soldiers?
Oh yeah, I kept. Boot camp was awesome. Super intimidating. I mean, I wouldn't draw a parallel to actual military boot camp because that would be a lot harder. But for those of us who were in the show, none of us were ex-military, so it was a really intense experience. It was 12 days at a military base in North England. And it was a fascinating acting experience because we only knew each other by our character names and our rank and our squads. And it was 6 months later into shooting when where real names started to trickle in. And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, would come over and say, I can't communicate with you people. It's Luz, it's George, it's Rick Luz, it's George Gomez, who's who? Because everybody had basically 4 names. As far as meeting the actual vets, I spent a lot of time with Bill Garnier, Faith Heffron, and Don Malarkey especially. Don Malarkey was really close. The man I portrayed in the series got killed in Battle of the Bulge. So I spent a lot of time talking to and getting to know his good friends in real life. And it was a fascinating experience because, and I've told this story before, but I'll tell it and I'll make it brief. When we were doing Band of Brothers, I got cast to play this character, Skip Muck. Not a character, excuse me, this real guy. And before this, you've been all about trying to get the job, and you've been meeting Tom Hanks and Spielberg, and you've been nervous, and you get this job, and like, oh my God, this is great, this is fantastic. Now I got to do my research, I got to really dig in here. And you start digging in, and you realize these are real people. You're getting people on the phone. Remember the first conversation I had with Don Malarkey? Got Don Malarkey on the phone, and Don Malarkey started to cry and hung up. And that's when I realized, wow, I'm opening a can of worms here. This isn't just an acting job. These people are going to have to watch their lives be retold and rehashed, and they're going to have to tap into things they don't necessarily want to tap into in order to make this project work. And so I said, all right, I was taking it seriously anyway, but I thought, I need to find out what Skip Muck was like from his family. And the production didn't know where his family was. The man's last name was Muck. I figured, how hard could that be to find not a lot of Mucks in the phone books, and I found out from Don Malarkey that he was from upstate New York, Tonawanda, New York. So I sent an email to the Chamber of Commerce. I called everybody, by the way, last name Muck in the phone book in Tonawanda, New York, and everybody was very gracious and called me back and said, we don't know who this is. So I sent an email to the Chamber of Commerce in the city of Tonawanda. And then I went off to boot camp. And I came back, and I got this email from a woman named Eileen O'Hara. So this is 14, 15 days later. An email from a woman named Eileen O'Hara. She said, hey, I got this email from the city. You're looking for my mom, I guess. What is it about? So I called her. And I said, I explained who I was, and I explained what I was doing. And I said, we're doing, Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg are making a miniseries based on the book, Band of Brothers. And I want to talk to you about your uncle, who was Skip Muck. I'm portraying him. And she says, what book, Band of Brothers? And so there's a whole book about the squad your uncle was involved in and all his friends and his experiences with the war. You don't know about this? She says, no. She said, we don't even know. We've spent the last 40 years not knowing how he died. All we got was a letter from the government saying he was dead, and that's it. We never got personal facts or anything. I was like, oh boy. So I said, rather than me tell you, let me send you the book. So I sent him the book. And because the sister, Ruth, was still, they were really close, and she and Skip. So she read the book, they found out how Skip died that way, and it was a difficult, cathartic experience for the family. And then slowly over there, we were able to bring them into the fold of the production. The production didn't know who they were. So from that point, she started sending me pictures of her, Don Malarkey and Skip, and Skip and Bill Garnier, and all these letters. She sent me a letter that he had sent home. That they had written him. They got sent back with deceased written on it. They sent me copies of all his original paperwork, his jump letter from Colonel Sink, and all this stuff. And in episode 7, she even wrote me a letter telling me a childhood memory about swimming across the Niagara River and how he insisted on swimming across the Niagara River. And I took that to Graham Yost, who was the writer of episode 7, and I said, that's a good story. And he put that in the show. So in episode 7, I'm sitting in the foxhole and I'm telling the story about swimming the Niagara River. That's pulled right from one of her letters. And I referenced in that my girlfriend Faye, which is the real name of the girl that Skip was dating at the time. Well, Faye Tanner, then sees the series on TV. Hasn't had any contact with the family since Skip was shipped off. Sees the series on TV, contacts the family, reunites them, and returns to them his original jump wings, because he mailed those to her after he got certified. And then we got the Chamber of Commerce and the state of New York to reissue all of his medals. So it was a really pretty awesome experience getting to know the Muck family. And they send presents to my kids and send us a wedding present. It's been an awesome example. And the only time, Ruth LaFleur was her married name, the only time she ever got on a plane in her entire life was to go to a Band of Brothers reunion. The real guy, the 101st Airborne. And she passed away shortly thereafter, but she actually got on an airplane because she wanted to meet Don Malarkey and Bill Grenier and all these guys who've been so close to her brother. And it was pretty awesome. It was a pretty awesome experience.